What up, ballers? My name's Darian, and today we're back with another position deep dive. This time we're going over the corners. I'm probably not going to do safeties. I talked a lot about the safeties in my position battles video, so go check that one out. But for the corners, we're going to talk about what it looks like for this year and for in the future. First guy up, and a guy that does not need any introduction, Mr. Patrick Surtain II. Pat Surtain, obviously the long-term elite CB1 for the Denver Broncos, recently signed an extension. It was a 4-year deal, and it was an absolute steal as multiple contracts have surpassed Pat Surtain, and as we all know, Patrick Surtain is the clear best corner in the league. So the Broncos have the best corner in the league, and they're not even paying him the most money. That's an absolute steal in my opinion, and currently, Patrick Surtain still has about 4 more years left on his deal, as it's just kicking in now. So PS2 is signed through 2029, which would be his 29-year-old season, and he'll probably sign another extension here soon in a couple of years. His cap hit goes from 16 million to 26 to 29 and to 30, so obviously it gets more and more expensive, but 30 million for an elite corner in this day and age is an absolute steal, like I said. So probably look for an extension probably around 2028, move some of that money back, as Bo Nix will be an extension candidate around that time as well. But Pat Surtain, be here for a long time, probably a lifelong Bronco in my opinion, and probably be in a Ring of Fame. Enough glazing of my goat. Let's move on to the Broncos' current CB2, Riley Moss. Now, I have been critical on Riley Moss in the past, as last season I don't think was his best performance. He wasn't bad by any means. I still think he was a good CB2, especially having a tough job lining up across of Pat Surtain. But I do think Riley does need to step up his play if he wants to get another contract with the Denver Broncos. As it stands, Riley Moss is entering his last year of his deal in 2026, so he'll probably be looking for an extension, but I don't think the Broncos should pay him just yet. I think if Riley potentially beats out Jahdae Barron for the outside position, he's in a good spot to have a bounce-back year, hopefully bring down the PIs, maybe clean up the tackling just a little bit, and hopefully grab a few more interceptions. And if Riley Moss does that, I would be perfectly fine extending him if another guy, Jaquan McMillan, who we'll talk in a minute, doesn't get extended. Because I think you can only pay one of these guys, and Riley Moss is probably the more valuable guy if he's playing at his best, but currently I think Jaquan has a step up in that after last year. So I'm looking for a more confident Riley Moss this upcoming season, and hopefully he bounces back from what wasn't a bad year, but I think he can be even better. Speaking of Jaquan McMillan, he was an absolute beast last year in the slot and does everything you want out of a nickel defender. He absolutely blows up screens and helps in the run game when he can. His coverage was much better compared to the previous year. He grabbed a couple picks and obviously had that big play against Buffalo in the playoffs, which we all know won us that game. I expect Jaquan to stay in the slot this year and absolutely dominate again, and hopefully look for an all-pro spot this year. He's currently in his last year of restricted free agency, so the Broncos have him cheap, but next year he will be an unrestricted free agent. So like I said, the Broncos need to decide if they want to extend Jaquan, Riley Moss, or neither. Because I don't think they can do both. You have too much money on the books for a lot of other positions that spending high on 3 corners, especially when you have Jahdae Barron sitting in the wings, you can't do that. Personally, at this moment, I would extend Jaquan McMillan. He had the better year, he'll be cheaper, and if they really think Jahdae Barron can play on the outside, fine. He either loses to Riley Moss in the competition, or he wins, or he takes over next year. So if the Broncos wanted to get a preseason extension done, I think it would be with Jaquan McMillan, and for Riley, they would wait, but they could wait on both. I'd like to think that one of these 2 guys will be with the Broncos long term, but you never know with the cornerback position, as it can be very expensive, especially when you're paying Pat Surtain $29-30 million and all the positions around him, Hufanga, Allen. You're paying a lot of money to this defense already. I don't know if you can keep spending on it. But as it stands, the current 3 starters that are slated for the Broncos are very good, and they will continue to help this Broncos defense be at the top of the league. Next up, controversial figure Jahdae Barron. I am still very much a Jahdae Barron truther. I still love him as a player. I am a little questionable if they want to put him on the outside, but I think he can do it. I think he's athletic enough to do it. It's just the size and arm length that could cause him problems in the more press, man-heavy system that Vance Joseph runs. But like I said, I think he's athletic enough to keep up with the outside receivers. So if he was able to beat out Riley Moss in a competition, I would be confident in Jahdae Barron going forward, as he still has 4 more years on his deal, including the 5th-year rookie option. I've stated I believe Jahdae Barron will get a competition attempt with Riley Moss this year, as towards the end of the year, Vance Joseph said that they do have a vision for him on the outside. So if he wins that, he'll be the starting number 2 next to Pat Surtain, and I'd like to think he'd thrive in that role. I think he's got better ball skills than Riley. I think he's a little quicker, but does lack the length that Riley has and the experience, obviously. But I do think Jade is also a better run defender, as I profile him more in the slot or even a safety role, but we really don't know what the main goal for Jade Barron is because it's changed so many times throughout even only 1 year of his career. So I'm still rooting for Jade. I still think he can be a very productive player for this team, even if he ends up back in the dime role. I'd like to see him off tight ends more. I think that's more of his weaker role. Get him on the slot, guys. Let him be aggressive and let him read the quarterback rather than having to play man all the time. So if you want him in dime, maybe drop him into a zone, let him spy, let him do more things, even blitz. I still think Jade Barron can be a contributor to this defense, whether he's starting on the outside, in the slot, at safety, or playing the dime role. You just got to utilize him more. He can be a good player for this team. We just want to see that, especially out of a first-round pick like Jade Barron. So you have Riley Moss 1 year left. You have Jaquan McMillan with 1 year left. You'd like to think Jade Barron takes those positions in year 3. Last guy I want to talk about, the most underrated guy in this room, Chris Abrams-Draine, who, when he gets out there, is always making plays, always strapping up, and always doing his job. The problem with KAD is he is pretty much non-existent in the run. He's a pretty slender build, and he doesn't really tackle much or get off blocks. So when Pat Surtain went out, you saw a lot of Jade Barron on the outside on early downs for rundowns, but when it came to coverage and more in that press man role, you saw KAD as he was a little longer and a little quicker to cover those outside corners or outside receivers than Jade Barron was for his rookie year. I still think KAD can be a productive outside corner in this league, but unfortunately, he's one of the more loaded cornerback rooms in the league currently, and I'm interested to see what they do with him. I still think he's going to be a good special teamer, but if an offer came around, I wouldn't hate if they sent off KAD for a pick and get it back and have some more wiggle room with your roster. As I think KAD deserves to go start somewhere else rather than sit and be at cornerback 5 on the Denver Broncos. And that's it for the corners. Comment what position you want to see next, or I'll just decide. Thanks to whoever commented to do the cornerback position, and I'll see you on the next time.